Good morning, everyone. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professionals IGP Bangladesh. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professionals IGP Bangladesh. Thank you for all joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable knowledge seekers, today I am your host for the morning. My name is Aditya Bashak and I am from Bangladesh. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. IGP is a social and ISO certified international training institute. In last 3 years, we already served 3 million knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 250 plus professionals and 4,500 plus organizations. Institute of Global Professionals (IGP) is the training faculty for skill development, which was founded in 2020 and is generating competent candidates to meet demand in the global labor market by providing professionals qualifications. The Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institute that provides social work globally recognized and reputable. We serve students and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it we believe that it's not effective to increase one skill just by acquiring formal education. So we provide effective training and collection to generate proficient generation all over the world. We distribute our service locally, nationally, and internationally to students, job seekers, job holders, and also for learners through respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institution. IGP is one of the most famous institute from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminars, courses, awards, quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we also trying to serve more than 100 plus million service for free, like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and world knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge, which can update all day. Kids learning games, websites, free courses, convert sites, and many more. We help to empower youth to learn to meet their expectations and dreams and becomes high. We implement several training programs, webinars, and offline online courses for youth and learners by professionals, trainers, speakers, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kinds of youth and to promote the education of their abilities and personalities to ensure excellent and in-depth instruction. We arranged with qualified trainers, speakers, and instructors. We extended free service to more than 3 million knowledge seekers in the last 3 years. We have affiliations with universities and organizations in 70 different countries. Virtual mouse signing with many colleges and organizations have been accomplished. We are working to create a legendary generation of future scholars and citizens who will be accountable. We are constantly prepared to assist all citizens who will be accountable. We are constantly prepared to assist all knowledge seekers with valuable service. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professionals. We believe that knowledge is love, light, and vision, so we try to understand the needs of today's generation and will serve them with good research and practiced method. We must have a genuine concern for the learners and practice, and we represent more diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead a session with personalism professionalism, passion, and integrity. IGP members are committed to offering effective based quality service and continual improvement so that individual who seeks information can improve their skill levels and values. Before we move to the next, let me remind, don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable to us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind you, don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable to us. Thank you. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1284 webinars successfully. Wow. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1284 webinars successfully. Wow. At present, we are going to start our 1285 program. Name is Sustainable Development Goals. And our today's speaker, Sir Professor Dr. Pratik Rajan Mangekar from India. Before I hand over the stage to Sir, want to share a little bit about our speaker. He is a scientist, professor, counselor, global educator, published author, and an international speaker. Now very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with his presentation. Now very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with his presentation. Hello sir,
Hello, good morning.
how are you sir?
I'm good. How are you?
So I hope your sound system is too much low. Please reach your sound system.
Am I audible?
Yes sir, are you audible?
Okay.
How are you sir?
Yes, I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I am also good. On behalf of IGP Knowledge Seekers, wants to share from you about you, sir. It's about yourself. Then you start you start your presentation, sir.
Okay. So, just a moment. Okay. So, let me introduce myself, Professor Dr. Pratik Rajan Mangegar. I'm a scientist, professor, counselor, global educator, published author, and an international speaker. I'm the first Indian to be appointed as the Planetary Minister of Sustainable Development of newly emerging the Kingdom of Atlantis, a decentralized sovereign kingdom. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First youngest Indian whose book Introduction to Sustainable Development Goals, which is non-academic, is now part of Atlantean education program. First youngest Indian to receive So sorry, there is some network issue. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Are you audible, sir? Please present your presentation.
Okay, just a minute. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, make it full screen.
Okay.
No, sir. I can't see anything. Just a blackboard.
I don't know what happened. From my side, it's visible. Again, I'm sharing just a minute.
Sir, upload your presentation. It's automatically full screen, sir.
Just see now.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Full screen.
Let's
Okay.
start, sir. Please, the stage is your. Please present.
Sure.
You can start, sir.
Okay. So let me introduce Rajan Mungekar of newly emerging the Kingdom of Atlantis, a decentralized sovereign kingdom, first youngest Indian whose book Introduction to Sustainable Development Goals, which is non-academic, is now part of Atlantean education program. First youngest Indian to receive 300 plus honorary doctorates across the globe. First youngest Indian professor who taught to more than 9,000 plus students and career guided 27,000 plus students till date, and the count is still on. First Indian who has 950 plus international, national, and state awards, 6 national patents, 15 world records at the age of 28 for my contribution in the field of teaching and research. First youngest Indian to receive 125 plus honorary high degrees across the globe. First Indian to be appointed by 66 international organizations on various high positions at the same time. First youngest Indian to be appointed as ambassador by 67 organizations of many countries in almost all disciplines. First youngest Indian professor to start teaching at the age of 16, and the age of 27 I completed my 12 years of teaching. First youngest Indian to receive royal prestigious titles such as Lecturers Magnificus from Philippines, HRS 5-star Duke, Singapore, HRS Sir. First youngest Indian to receive Mendeleev's Fellowship, which is the United Kingdom's highest academic honor. First youngest Indian to receive the distinguished title Professor Wisdom from Institution Cultural Colombiana Casa Poetica Maga Plumas, Colombia, South America. Visiting faculty and professor in many national and foreign universities, director of research and innovation, Oxford University, Lighthouse Leadership University, Domain of Impact International Bible University, Global Ministry and Disciple Institute, Dean International Development, Theophany University, and recently I've been appointed as a director of Science and Technology for Crown University International, author of 4 books: Introduction to Sustainable Development Goals, Education and Eternal Asset, Leadership and Change Superintendence, and my bestseller book is on stem cell science. All books are available on Amazon and various platforms. And I'm the first youngest Indian to be appointed as a vice chancellor positions at Unified Theological Seminary, USA, University of Kingdom of Atlantis, Singapore, Webiston University, Zimbabwe, and Wisdom University, Gombe, Nigeria. So this is about my short profile. I'll begin with sustainable development goals. So there are total 17 sustainable development industry innovation and infrastructure, required inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goal. So these are UN SDGs, what we call 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So now in the year 2015, leaders from 193 countries of the world came together to face the culture. And what they saw was daunting, feminized, dot wars, plagues, poverty, not just in some faraway place, but in their own cities and towns and villages. So they knew things didn't have to be this way. So they knew we had enough food to feed the world, but that it was not getting shared. So they knew there were medicines for HIV and other diseases, but they cost a lot. So they knew the earthquakes and floods were inevitable, but that the high death tolls were not. So they also knew that billions of people worldwide shared their hope for a better future. So leaders from these countries created a plan called Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. This set of 17 goals imagines a future just 15 years off that would be rid of poverty and hunger and safe from the worst effects of climate change. It's an ambitious plan, I must say. But there is ample evidence that we can succeed. So in the past 15 years, the international community cut extreme poverty in half. So now we can finish the job. So the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, is one of the leading organizations working to fulfill the SDGs by the year 2030. Present in nearly 170 countries and territories, we help nations make the goals a reality and also champion the goals so that people everywhere know how to do their part. So UNDP is proud to continue as a leader in this global movement. So let's learn about the sustainable development goal. What's your goal? So, what do you mean by sustainable development? So, sustainable development is the idea that human societies must live and meet their needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The official definition of sustainable development was developed for the first time in the Birdland Report in 1987. So, what is sustainable development with example? So, using recycled materials or renewable resources when building, for example, a building is an example of sustainable development. So, building a new community in a previously undeveloped area without destroying the ecosystem or harming the environment is an example of sustainable development. So why is sustainable development important? So the goal of sustainable development is to meet the needs of today without compromising the needs of tomorrow. So this means we cannot continue using current levels of resources as this will not leave enough for future generations. So stabilizing and reducing carbon emissions is key to living within environmental limits. What is sustainability and sustainable development? So, sustainability is often thought of as a long term goal, that is, a more sustainable world, while sustainable development refers to the many processes and pathways to achieve it. Examples: sustainable agriculture and forestry, sustainable production and consumption, good government, research and technology, transfer, education and training. These all are the examples of sustainable development. Now, what are the three pillars of sustainable development? First is economy, second is social, and third is environment. So these are the 17 goals. Goal number 1, end poverty. Goal 2, end hunger. Goal 3, well-being. Goal 4, quality education. Goal 5, gender equality. Goal 6, water and sanitation for all. Goal 7, affordable and sustainable energy. Goal 8, decent work for all. Goal 9, technology to benefit all. Goal 10, reduce inequality. Goal 11, safe cities and communities. Goal 12, responsible consumption by all. Goal 13, stop climate change. Goal 14, protect the ocean. Goal 15, take care of the earth. Goal 16, live in peace. And last, goal 17, mechanism and partnership to reach the goals. So these are goal number 1, no poverty. End extreme poverty in all forms by 2030. Yes, it's an ambitious goal, but we believe it can be done. So in 2000, the world committed to halving the number of people living in extreme poverty by the year 2015, and we made this goal. So, however, more than 800 million people around the world still live on less than $1.25 a day. That's about the equivalent of the entire population of Europe living in extreme poverty. So now it's time to build on what we learned and end poverty altogether. Then comes goal number 2, zero hunger. End hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. So, in the past 20 years, hunger has dropped by almost half. Many countries that used to suffer from famine and hunger can now meet the nutritional needs of their most vulnerable people. It's an incredible accomplishment, and now we can go further and end hunger and malnutrition once and for all. That means doing things such as promoting sustainable agriculture and supporting small farmers. Uh, it's a tall order, but for the sake of the newly 1 out of every 9 people on earth who go to bed hungry every night, we have got to try. So imagine a world where everyone has access to sufficient and nutritious food all year round. Together, we can make that a reality by 2030. Goal number 3, good health and well being. So, ensure healthy lives and promote well being for all at all ages. So, we all know how important it is to be in good health. Our health affects everything from how much we enjoy life to what work we can perform. That's why there is a goal to make sure everyone has healthy coverage and access to safe and effective medicines and vaccines. So, in the 25 years before the SDG, we made big strides. Preventable child deaths dropped by more than half, and maternal mortality went down by almost as much. And yet, some other numbers remain tragically high, like the fact that 6 million children die every year before their fifth birthday, or that AIDS is the leading cause of death for adolescents in in Africa or in some countries. So we have the means to turn that around to make good health more than just a wish. Next, goal number 4 is quality education. So ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So first, the bad news on education, poverty, armed conflict, and other emergencies keep many, many kids around the world out of school. In fact, kids from the poorest households are 4 times more likely to be out of school than those of the richest households. So now for some good news, since 2000 onward, there has been enormous progress on the goal to provide primary education to all children worldwide, and the total enrollment rate in developing regions has reached 91%. So by measures in any school, that's a good grade. And now let's get an even better grade for all kids and achieve the goal of universal primary and secondary education, affordable vocational training, access to higher education, and many more. Next is goal number 5th is gender equality. So achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So we can celebrate the great progress the world has made in becoming more prosperous and fair. But there is a shadow to that celebration. In just about every way, women and girls lag behind. There are still gross inequalities in work and wages. Lots of unpaid women's work, such as childcare and domestic work, and discrimination in public decision making. But there are grounds for hope. More girls are in school now compared to in 2000. Most religions have reached gender parity in primary education. So the percentage of women getting paid for their work is on the rise. And the Sustainable Development Goals aim to build on these achievements to ensure that there is an end to discrimination against women and girls everywhere. Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. This is the tagline of this goal. So, everyone on earth should have access to safe and affordable drinking water. That's the goal for 2030. While many people take clean drinking water and the sanitation for granted, many others don't. Water scarcity affects more than 40% of people around the world, and that number is projected to go even higher as a result of climate change. So, if we continue the path we're on by 2050, at least 1 in 4 people are likely to be affected by recurring water shortages. But we can take a new path, more international cooperation, protecting wetlands and rivers, sharing water treatment technologies that leads to accomplishing this goal. Next, goal number 7, affordable and clean energy. So ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. So between 1990 and 2010, the number of people with access to electricity increased by 1.7 billion, and that's progress to be proud of. And yet, as the world's population continues to rise, still more people will need cheap energy to light their homes and streets, use phones and computers, and do their everyday business. So how we get that energy is at issue. Fossil fuels and greenhouse gas emissions are making drastic changes in the climate and leading to big problems on every continent. Instead, we can become more energy efficient and invest in clean energy sources such as solar and wind. That way, we will meet electricity needs and protect the environment. And how's that for a balancing act? Next is goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. So promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. So an important part of economic growth is that people have jobs that pay enough to support themselves and their families. The good news is that the middle class is growing worldwide, almost tripling in size in developing countries in the last 25 years to more than a third of the population. But today, job growth is not keeping pace with the grounding labor force. So things don't have to be that way. We can promote policies that encourage entrepreneurship and job creation. We can eradicate forced labor, slavery, and human trafficking. And in the end, we can achieve the goal of decent work for all women and men by 2030. Goal number 9, industry innovation and infrastructure. So build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. So technological progress helps us address big global challenges, such as creating jobs and becoming more energy efficient. For example, the world is becoming ever more interconnected and prosperous thanks to the internet. The more connected we are, the more we can all benefit from the wisdom and contributions of people everywhere on earth. And yet, sorry, 4 billion people have no way of getting online. The vast majority of them in developing countries. Sorry. So the more we invest in innovation and infrastructure, the better off we will all be. So bridging the digital divide, promoting sustainable industries, and investing in scientific research and innovation are all important ways to facilitate sustainable development. Goal number 10, reduce inequalities. Reduce inequality within and among countries. It's an old story. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So the divide has never been stuck. We can and must adopt policies that create opportunities for everyone, regardless of who they are or where they come from. So, income inequality is a global problem that requires global solutions. That means improving the regulation of financial markets and institutions, sending development and where it is most needed, and helping people migrate safely so they can pursue opportunities together. So we can now change the direction of the old story of inequality. Goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. So make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So if you are like most people, you live in a city. More than half the world population now lives in cities. And that figure will go to about two-thirds of humanity by the year 2050. So cities are getting bigger. In 1990, there were 10 mega cities with 10 million inhabitants or more, and in 2014 there were 28 megacities. Now in 2023 the number is rise so much, home to 453 million people. Incredible. A lot of people love cities. They are centers of culture and business and life. So the thing is, they're also often centers of extreme poverty. To make cities sustainable for all, we can create affordable public housing, we can upgrade slum settlements, we can invest in public transport, create green spaces, and get a broader range of people involved in urban planning decisions. That way, we can keep the things we love about cities and change the things we don't. Next, goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. So, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. So, some people use a lot of stuff and some people use very little. In fact, a big share of the world population is consuming too little to meet even their basic needs. Instead, we can have a world where everybody gets what they need to survive and thrive. And we can consume in a way that preserves our natural resources so that our children can enjoy them and their children after that. So the hard part is how to achieve that goal. We can manage our natural resources more efficiently and dispose of toxic waste better. Cut per capita food waste in half globally, get businesses and consumers to reduce and recycle waste, and help countries that have typically not consume a lot to move towards more responsible consumption patterns. Next is goal number 13, climate action. So take urgent action to combat climate changes and its impact. Every country in the world is seeing the drastic effects of climate change, some more than others. On average, the annual losses just from earthquake, tsunamis, tropical cyclones, and flooding count in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And we can reduce the loss of life and property by helping more vulnerable regions, such as landlocked countries and island states, become more resilient. It is still possible with the political will and technological measures. So, to limit the increase in global mean temperature to 2 degrees Celsius above pre industrial levels and thus avoid the worst effects of climate change. So, the Sustainable Development Goals lay out a way for countries to work together to meet this urgent challenge. Next is goal number 14, life below water. So conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. The oceans make human life possible. Their temperatures, their chemistry, their currents, their life forms. For one thing, more than 3 billion people depend on marine and coastal diversity for their livelihoods. But today we are seeing nearly a third of the world's fish stocks overexploited. That's not a sustainable way of life. So even people who live nowhere near the ocean cannot live without it. So oceans absorbs about 30% of the carbon dioxide that humans produce, but were producing more carbon dioxide than ever before, and that makes the oceans more acidic. So 26% more since the start of industrial revolution. So our trash doesn't help either. 13,000 pieces of plastic litter on every square kilometer of ocean sounds bad, right? So don't despair. The Sustainable Development Goals indicate targets for managing and protecting life below water. Next, life on land. So protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forest, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. So humans and other animals rely on other forms of life on land for food, clean air, clean water, and as a means of combating climate change. Plant life makes up 80% of the human diet. Forests, which cover 30% of the Earth's surface, help keep the air and water clean and the Earth's climate in balance. So that's not to mention there are home to millions of animal species, but the land and life on it are in trouble. So arable land is disappearing 30 to 35%, 30 to 35 times faster than it has historically. Deserts are spreading. Animal breeds are going extinct. We can turn these trends around. Fortunately, the Sustainable Development Goals aim to conserve and restore the use of terrestrial ecosystems such as forests, wetlands, dry lands, and mountains by 2030. Goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. So, promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. So, how can a country develop? How can people eat and teach and learn and work and raise families without peace? And how can a country have peace without justice, without human rights, without government based on the rule of law? So some part of the world enjoy relative peace and justice and may come to take it for granted. Other parts seem to be armed conflict, crime, torture, and exploitation, all of which hinders their development. So the goal of peace and justice is one for all countries to strive towards. The Sustainable Development Goals aim to reduce all forms of violence and propose that governments and communities find lasting solutions to conflict and insecurity. So that means strengthening the rule of law, reducing the flow of illicit arms, and bringing developing countries more into the center of institutions of global governance. And the last goal is goal number 17, partnerships for the goal. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. So the sustainable development goals are pretty big to-do list, don't you think? In fact, it's so big, you may just want to throw your hands up in the air. Forget it. Can't be done. Why even try? But we have got a lot going for us. The world is more interconnected today than ever before, thanks to the internet, travel, and global institutions, and the coronavirus. So there is growing consensus about the need to work together to stop climate change. And the Sustainable Development Goals are no small matter either. So 193 countries agreed on these goals. Pretty incredible, isn't it? So 193 countries agreeing on anything. So the final goal lays out a way for nation to work together to achieve all other goals. Now, before the impact, I would also like to explain just a moment. Yes, measuring progress. So, are we there yet? No, there are five criteria for measuring progress. So this is about the introduction. What are these 17 goals which I explained? Now, one of the biggest challenges when it comes to attaining the SDGs is determining where we are on the journey towards accomplishing them. To measure progress, this is very important, implementation, or to measure progress, we require a starting point, an initial state, as well as some means of measuring how far we have come and how much longer it will take to reach the goal. So we need indicators throughout the entire SDG policy cycle. Indicators will prove key in sustainable development, and reports and assessments of progress. So if we are to have accountability at local, national, and global levels for the commitments the SDGs require, indicators at these different levels, moreover, must be commonly understood and reported if we are to align the results in useful and informative ways. So, put simply, we have to count the same things in the same ways to accurately measure our progress. So, in December 2015, the Interagency and Expert Group of Sustainable Development Goals Indicator, which is IAEG SDGs, submitted its report to the UN Statistical Commission, UNSC, of the 231 proposed SDG indicators, total 231 proposed, and 151 are well established, and many statistical agencies already report on them. So the other 80 indicators, 80 indicators, require more in-depth research and discussions. So looking at this large set of diverse indicators raises a crucial question: what shared principles and criteria would provide us with a consensus on what we need to measure and how? That's the question. So, first, indicators need to be manageable, able to be urgently monitored and reported on, even in wealthier countries with significant institutional capacity, collecting data and what can I say, reporting on many indicators can be both technically challenging and too costly. So 150 indicators are far too many. We must start with a core set of must-have indicators. Must-have indicators. Second, indicators must be relevant for the sustainable development priorities in their particular context. So relevance must be agreed upon by governments, then statisticians, and all relevant stakeholders involved in the implementation of a specific SDG and its targets. So good progress has been made at the United Nations level, but it will be difficult to replicate down the statistical ladder to local authorities in each country. Third, indicators must monitor actual changes over time. There must be state indicators measuring the state of resources, while almost half of the SDG indicators so far are state indicators generating consistent data for them at all levels will prove challenging. Next, reporting challenges for OECD countries. So while this is a challenge for all countries, it is especially important for the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries, OECD countries, whose influence on international cooperation agendas is particularly powerful. So what does this mean for wealthy countries in the OECD? And how should it be reflected in their reporting to the high level political forum, which is HLPF? So it means that there must be a major effort to ensure policy alignment among the positions these countries take in international regimes and organizations. So positions with respect to the World Trade Organization, to take an example, must be crafted and deployed bearing in mind the requirements of the 2030 agenda. For instance, the rules governing intellectual property rights, or the ban on local content requirements relating to outside investment might usefully be reviewed to determine whether, in their present form, they advance or undermine the 2030 agenda. So OECD countries should create a space in their regular reporting to chronicle progress on this alignment process. And this is a challenge, but it is clear that we will not reach the SDGs without a significant harmonization of policies across these broad economic, social, and environmental agendas. Unless we are successful, it is likely that the economic agendas that advance the interest of the powerful will once again make nonsense of the solemn commitment of our leaders. So this time to genuinely act to ensure that our future is sustainable. A second example comes from Goal 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. So, this complex goal, with its 11 targets, lays out a range of actions governments are expected to take, many of them calling for efficiency gains in production and consumption, as well as a reduction of waste. So, all 11 targets of this goal, number 12, can fully be reached, however, without the goal being achieved. So, OECD countries should have no difficulty reporting against these targets. So, if the goal is universally held, commitment, however, the reporting should include progress towards the goal itself, including an assessment of how patterns of consumption and production affect the ability of other countries to achieve the SDGs and for the goal itself to be reached. So finally, these OECD countries should identify and develop a means to assess how their overall impact on the planet might be made more amenable to success in reaching the SDGs through a robust social floor and living within known planetary boundaries. So the principle of universality strongly suggests that reporting should not simply allow the mechanical tracking of the goals and targets against indicators, but provide the basis for an assessment. Perhaps by the HLPF, which I discussed earlier, which is charged with monitoring and reviewing by 2030 agenda of the extent to which our world is being transformed and sustainable future secured. While we must all accept that there is an aspirational element to the SDGs, their fulfillment will require action across the board and not only the limited set of topics agreed in the agenda. It is clear that if we wish developing countries, to the extent possible, like India, to locate the means of implementation domestically, then everything will need to be done to make that possible. So this means improving terms of trade, correcting the imbalances in investment agreements, enabling developing countries to earn income through remittances from their citizens living abroad, and much more. So the danger of not doing this in good faith and at scale is that it provides a convenient excuse for any shortfalls in performance and compliance. If the universal 2030 agenda is genuinely to be realized, the richer countries have only two acceptable choices. Either help countries with an So this is of countries like Switzerland that have signed up to set of specific obligations. Naturally, it is important to report on the efforts made to meet the targets under the agreed categories: finance, technologies, capacity building, trade, and systematic issues. But this may not be enough because the implications of the expanded notion of MOI run considerably deeper. Take, for example, the expectation that developing countries focus on domestic resource mobilization. One of the approaches designed in the targets under SDG 70 is reform of taxation. So, to fully succeed, however, this will require cooperation at the international level, and such as that occurring through these, base erosion and profit shifting projects. So, more disclosure of information on foreign citizens' holdings in rich country banks, greater cooperations on stamping out money laundering, gradual closure of offshore tax happens, and all of this is required to lay the foundation for successful tax reform in the poorer countries. Indeed, without such cooperation, it is difficult to imagine how domestic tax reform will yield its optimal share of resources mobilized domestically, and thereby the means needed to implement SDG 70. So the form of action is implied in the targets relating to systemic issues, especially in addressing the challenge of policy coherence. But there are nowhere spelled out or I can say specifically as an adjunct to the obligation placed on countries for domestic action. However, if we are to track progress comprehensively, countries like Switzerland and its fellow OECD members, European countries, should be reporting on measuring they take in these and related domains. And there are two fundamental priorities for public sector actions. First, it should focus strongly on pursuing policy coherence and enabling environment for sustainable development. We need an enabling policy, regulatory, and institutional framework that will align the interest of investor with the needs of the real economy, and in particular with the SDGs and their targets. So this framework must eliminate the uh, perverse incentives that reward unsustainable development and instead reward behavior that delivers on the 2030 agenda. The bad news is that such perverse incentives pervade our economy, from the massive waste of public money on ill-considered subsidies or low-priority projects that benefit particular constituents to the corporate practices that reward short-term profit-seeking or favor investments disconnected from the generation of real goods and services. So the good news is that we now have a very precise idea of the reforms that would help bring about a favorable alignment between investment and sustainable development, covering everything from monetary policy to standards, disclosure, and governance, and aim not only at banking but also at pension funds, insurances, and bond and stock markets, etc. So the United Nations Environment Program's inquiry into the design of a sustainable financial system is bringing with examples of the sorts of reforms now underway and that would need to go to scale. Second, the limited public funds available for the 2030 agenda should be used to catalyze additional resource mobilization from other sources, public and private. The best way to do this is to use public funds to de-risk necessary green investments. Investment is still not flowing in adequate proportions to projects that would advance sustainable development, in part because these projects are perceived to carry a level of risk greater than conventional projects. So if we are to accelerate the transition to sustainable forms of development, a good use of public funds would be to lower the risk attendant on sustainable projects to the point that they become attractive to private capital. Good examples from countries as diverse as Bangladesh and the United States, including favorable financing terms for green projects like renewable energy or waste management. So, all of these is well known, and yet it is the implementation of this sort of reform that would do more than any other action to advance the implementation of the 2030 agenda. Those most capable of acting on these reforms are the countries like, you know, as I discussed, Switzerland, Bangladesh, and the other OECD countries that are home to major financial and capital market actors, banks, insurances, pension funds, etc. So they tend to be the rule makers in finance. Given that it is the gift of these countries to act on finance sector reform, and that such reform represents the single most powerful means to create the kind of enabling policy framework that SDG implementation needs, and it should also be central to their regular reporting on their efforts to advance this universal agenda. There are many challenges, but we have a time constant. So I will read this slide and finally we'll go to conclusion. So, impact of SDG and MDG. So, the Millennium Development Goals were the stepping stone for the United Nations members to look for a developed and brighter future for their countries and the people living there. So, in 2000, the MDGs was accepted. First, MDGs was there. Later, they modified, and now what we call it as in SDGs. And the final report presented in 2015 clearly mentions the decrease in the infant mortality rate, reduction of poverty, provision of safe drinking water, sanitation, and drastically improving the mental health of people. So, following its footsteps to leave by 2030. The plan was accepted in 2015, and up till 2023, the reports presented by the UNDP proved that various actions have been taken for the betterment of the nation and improvement in the livelihood of people across the world has been seen. So the Sustainable Development Goals have resulted in the decline of the maternal mortality rate, reduced poverty, work for the improved health of people, spread awareness about the communicable and non-communicable diseases, and also the vaccines required for children. Efforts are being taken for providing better medication to the world, and mental illness is also being taken as a major concern. And overall, the Sustainable Development Goals tend to make the world a better place to, to live by, fulfilling its target within the stipulated time of 15 years and remove poverty, improve health, provide employment, empower women, reduce inequality, and follow all the 17 targets. And finally, conclusion. To sum it up, sustainable development continuously seeks to achieve social and economic progress in ways which will not exhaust the Earth's finite natural resources. Thus, we must all develop ways to meet these needs so that our future generations can inherit a healthier and greener planet. The SDGs are a global effort towards a socially just and environmentally sustainable future where no one is left behind. This COVID-19 pandemic has shown with devastating consequences some of what a future threatened by further pandemics or climate and ecological crisis could look like. So, with this, I conclude my talk here. And once again, I would like to congratulate the Institute of Global Professionals, IGP, for inviting me, for giving me opportunity to talk on this wonderful topic, Sustainable Development Goals. And thank you, all the listeners, educators, for actively, patiently listening to me this, I must say, very exhaustive talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your rich content presentation, which can impact our knowledge seekers surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seekers can learn something new, which was our only intention, sir. Learn and grow together, IGP knowledge seekers, sir. Once again, thank you so much, dear sir, for your presentation. Now, sir, it's time for the quiz session. It's time for the question and answer session, which is a one more valuable part of our regular webinar. Honorable sir, please stay with us. After a short video, we will back in our session part 2, which is the question answer part. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, dear IGP knowledge seekers, ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from your speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition process. After a short video, we will come back with our speaker. Thank you and stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition. Please ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker is waiting for you for your questions. Welcome back, sir. IGP knowledge seekers, ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker is waiting for you for your question.
It's okay if they don't have any question. You can go ahead.
So sorry.
It's okay if you don't have any question. You can go ahead because I have another lecture scheduled.
So wait 5 minutes, then
Okay, no issue.
IGP knowledge seekers, please ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker is waiting for your question. IGP knowledge seekers, ask your question in the comment box as early as possible. So I hope you covered full topic properly. That's why there is no question here. Once again, thank you so much, Honorable Sir, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with a new topics. It will add some values to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable Sir, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new date. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Honorable sir, before we move to the next webinar certification process, if you want to leave this studio, you can, sir. IGP knowledge seekers, it's time for the webinar certification process. The most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. IGP knowledge seekers, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinars. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Today are some technical problems. We cannot share our certificate code. We provide our certificate code in a short time. Thank you. Today are some technical problems. We cannot share our certificate code. We provide our certificate code in a short time. Thank you. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, it's time for the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is an our regular webinar activity. Now time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. First of all, you have to go www.slido.com www.slido.com and find today's quiz and scan this QR code for direct join, and the code is global IGP, and the code is global IGP. After a short video we will start our quiz session. Thank you. Stay with us. Please join in Slido with code, and the code is global IGP. Please join in Slido with code, and the code is global IGP. Please join in Slido with code, and the code is global IGP. I don't know. Please join in Slido with code, and the code is global IGP. Please join in Slido with code, and the code is global IGP. First of all, you have to go www.slido.com, then find this today's quiz and scan this QR code. And the code is global IGT. And the code is global IGT. 18% people joined with us. 18 people joined with us for quiz competition. শুরু হচ্ছে, শুরু হচ্ছে। তারপরে join in Slido with code and the code is global IGP. There are 10 sustainable development goals. Is it true or false? False is the right answer and 73% people are right. Our second question in this section is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are first option is 17 and second option is 19. Our second question is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal as first option is 17 and second option is 19. 17 is the right answer and 86% people are right. Our third question is how many sustainable development goals are there? 20 and 17. First option is 20 and second option is 17. How many sustainable development goals are there? 20 or 17? 17 is the right answer and 95% people are right. Our fourth long question is sustainable development goals begin in sustainable development goal begin in 2015 and second option is 2030. First option is 2015 and second option is 2030. Let's see what's the right answer. 2015 is the right answer and 95% people are right. Our fifth long question is the implemented who implemented the Sustainable Development Goals? Australian federal government and second option is the United Nations. First option is Australian federal government and second option is the United Nations. The United Nations is the right answer and 60 and 86% people are right. Our sixth question in this session is the Sustainable Development Goals are designed to apply to which countries? First option is all countries, both rich and poor. Second option is countries where more than 50% live below the poverty line. All countries, both rich and poor, is the right answer, and 87% people are right. Our seventh long question is to which countries Our seventh long question is to which countries are the Sustainable Development Goals designed to apply? First option is all countries, and second option is low and middle income countries, not high income countries. একটা কেউ problem দিচ্ছে কেউ problem দিচ্ছে দেখেন হ্যাঁ এটাই বারবার আসতেছে First option is all countries, and second option is low and middle income countries, and not high income countries. All countries is the right answer, and 83% people are right. Our eighth number question is what is the sustainable development? First option is development of the present without compromising the needs of the future, and second option is development of nuclear plants. Development of the present without compromising the needs of the future is the right answer, and 91% people are right. Our ninth one question is who is responsible for achieving the sustainable development goals? First option is every has a role to play in achieving the sustainable development goals, and second option is civil society. Who's the right answer, please? Every has a role to play in achieving the sustainable development is the right answer, and 95% people are right. Moving to the next question, and the final and the last question in this session is the sustainable development goals are adopted by the United Nations in 2016. Is it true or false? The Sustainable Development Goals were adopted by the United Nations in 2016. Is this true or false? Two is the right answer, and 45% people are right. Congratulations, top 10. Congratulations to our winner, webinar online quiz competition winners top 10. Congratulations, second slide will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on our official Facebook page and groups. And the official Facebook page and group's name is Institute of Global Professionals. Congratulations to our webinars, online quiz competition winners top 10. Congratulations again. Slide will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on our official Facebook page and groups. The name is of official Facebook page and groups is Institute of Global Professionals. Congratulations to our winners online quiz competition winners top 10. Congratulations again. Slides will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on our official Facebook page and groups Institute of Global Professionals. At the end moment of our session, we can say properly feed Your skills never stop learning because life never stop teaching us. Be happy and stay safe. See you again and again. We want to participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to go not to people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I say for before I say or hit the end live button, I want once to thank to all IGP knowledge seekers for your achieved participation and always see you in the next session. Thank you. Stay with us. Thank you for
স্লাইড হতে আমাদের